President Muhammadu Buhari is set to transmit the Nigeria Startup Bill to the National Assembly. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Pantami, made this disclosure recently at a breakfast interactive session in Lagos. This landmark development is coming 1 year since the Nigeria Startup Bill, a coalition of efforts to create an enabling regulatory environment for the developing startup ecosystem, was announced. The bill is a transformational initiative led by the Nigerian presidency collaborating with Nigeria's tech ecosystem, National Information Technology Development Agency, and the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. Joining us now to discuss this development is Tracy Okoro, who is the Executive Director of Business Academy Africa, a strategic organization that supports mission-driven community entrepreneurs to build businesses that plug gaps. Tracy, you're welcome to Newsday.
Thank you.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Now, as you rightly heard, the inception of this bill was 2021, and you've done a lot in terms of trying to create awareness in terms of rallies and roundtable discussions. But have you made any significant progress so far?
Thank you, Cynthia, for that wonderful question. And yes, I would gladly say that we have made significant progress, because I think this is the first time I have seen a bill move so fast in the history of the country. I mean, someone can correct me here, but it has been so monumental in the fact that there are a lot of people who are involved. Sorry, Cynthia, are you speaking? I can't hear you.
Oh, no, I'm not, but I'm listening. Please go on. We can hear you.
Okay, great. It has been so monumental because of the caliber of people and the amount of people that are involved towards pushing, driving, doing all sorts just to make sure that the bill is a success. And this is what we call the Big Tent Initiative. Big Tent because, just like the name says, it sort of covers everybody. So driven from the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, is one man that is so intelligent, so driven, so hardworking. This is Alhaji Pantami. When you hear things about people, you tend to judge them, but just working closely with the ministry on this has taught me that not to really, judge a book by its cover. He's been intelligently driving the conversation, pushing, taking away obstacles from the way. We've seen people from the Presidential Advisory Group, they are driving, pushing it. People from the private sector, they have been so supportive. Like, all you just need to do is say, oh, I need this done, and it gets done. People have rallied so much support, from the moment that the president, Muhammadu Buhari, came out and said, we need to create an enabling environment for young people, their ideas, co-create legislation that allows them have a better environment and support them, in partnership with the legislature. Immediately, it took force. A lot of people, we had thousands of volunteers from different spheres of life come out and say, what, we need to see this work. And, someone might ask, why did we need to, drive with so much, fervor? Because the ecosystem was ripe to evolve. Already we have seen lots of, funding coming up, interest from all over the world coming into Nigeria, into Africa, mostly Nigeria, for a lot of seed funding, for a lot of startups that are coming out of here, that are solving some of the world's hardest and largest problems. And so we needed to evolve with that speed. And so we needed a policy that would help. Some other thing that we need to understand, for a lot of some people in the ecosystem who are asking and saying, oh, why now? Well, every time there is a new idea or disruption, like a disruptive product or service, what people do not understand or remember is that there is also displacement. So, for example, in the fintech sector, you have maybe the new apps that come out. There is a displacement because a lot of people would lose their jobs. A lot of people who are not necessarily needed to run that. More transactions are happening online. I cannot remember when last I walked into a bank. So the government's job is to be able to shoulder that, and put everything in balance. And this is the reason why we needed to all come together to co-create a bill that works. So while we're, disrupting and creating solutions that are solving some of the hardest problems in the country, and outside of the country. The government is also shouldering, the displacement and making sure that there are adequate measures and structures that are put forward to be able to balance everything and give Nigerians a better life for life and living. And so yes, the startup bill has moved so fast. I remember we started from MDA consultations to town hall meetings to ecosystem hangouts to state rallies to local government conventions. We went so deep because we wanted everybody to know that this is what we wanted to do. We wanted your inputs, and we went a lot of back and forth, a lot of contribution now to the ministry. Then we went to the Ministry of Justice. Then, FEC approved it, and now it has been transmitted to the National Assembly. And we have a lot of strong, candidates, senators, House of Rep members who are solidly supporting, pushing. Because, the NSB is for young people, and looking at where we're headed in the future, young people are going to be taking over. And so I feel like we have a lot of support coming out of the National Assembly, and it's going to be as fast as every other process that has come in.
Indeed, interesting perspective there, Tracy. Now, creating an enabling regulatory environment for the startup ecosystem seems to be a good idea, no doubt about that. But enforcement of rules and regulation is still another major challenge in Nigeria. So how do you see this play out if this bill goes through?
So that was very important for us when we were starting to put together this bill. And so that's why we had the Big Tent initiative. And this was to enable everybody own their part, or the part that they had to play, in the enforcement or the tagging along or obeying of the rules and regulations. So from the private sector, they knew they had to play a part, to be able to make sure that this works. And so everybody is owning their responsibility in the bill. We're probably maybe not going to see 100%, but we're going to see much more than 50, 60% of enforcement, because a lot of people are willingly going to be a part of it. People want to see that progress. We need it in the ecosystem. We need it so much because, like I said, we need to catch up with the amount of investment, the amount of progress that is happening in the ecosystem. And if we do not put these measures in place, we will be lagging behind. So yes, we would see a lot more of regulatory enforcement happening, and it would happen without people having to be so coerced into doing it.
Well, Tracy, I acknowledge your efforts and your progress as well, but the pace at which this bill is moving might also come at a cost, because we have countries, for instance, like the UK, that just launched the tech and startup visa to attract talents like what we have in Nigeria to their country to grow their own industry. So based on the pace at which this is going, we might lose a significant amount of our young talent here. Are you confident that this will scale through fast enough in order to cater to the frustrations of Nigerians at this time?
Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for that. I think, on the contrary, it is going to be, like I said when I started, it's moving faster than any bill, that I have been part of, or I've heard about, or I've worked on. And this is because there are a lot of public goodwill from the different members of the ecosystem to make sure that it works. Like I also said, it's gone into the National Assembly, and we've had lots and lots of people who have, backed us up, senators, House of Rep members that are saying, we want this to work. And so because we actually have people who want it to work, I think that it is going to scale through, the readings, and it's going to be passed very fast. But then again, you cannot stem the tide as fast as, if a person wants to leave, they're going to leave. But we know that with this bill, we're going to be able to not just keep a lot more people right here to build and develop products and services that are going to be solving Nigeria's hardest problems, but we're going to attract more talent, right? We're going to bring back, people are going to come back home because now they see that the system is working, and they're going to come in and tap into it.
And hey, Tracy, earlier on you were talking about the rate at which we're having so much investments coming in for startups, as it were. So how would you value Nigeria's startup business environment and its contribution to GDP and overall national development?
Wow, I'm not sure I can put that in numbers, but I will tell you that in the next maybe 3 to 4 years, right, the entrepreneurship ecosystem, the tech-enabled ecosystem will be bringing in as much as maybe 60%, right, of Nigeria's GDP, because, we believe that Nigeria will be taken care of by the entrepreneurs. These are people who are plugging gaps. These are mission-driven entrepreneurs that are solving the hardest problems. And so when they're able to do that, they are creating access to services. They're creating access to market. They're creating access to opportunities, right? And so which means that we're no longer going to be fully dependent on things like, on consumption. We're going to be solving for non-consumption. We're going to be helping people make more money than we spend it. So it means that just even take a look at it. Just look at how a lot of investors are rushing into the country to be able to, invest. It shows you that they're seeing something. They're seeing that in the next 5 years, if we don't plug into this, we would be losing. And this, I'm telling you, are countries from all over the globe saying that we want that first, chunk. And this is why the Nigeria Startup Bill is sort of setting this regulatory, balance, this structure, because with the noise and the haste of everybody, if we do not put a balance in place, we will not be able to first capture the data. We will not be also able to help and support these startups that need the help, and to be able to be at least to be protected, from maybe these investors that are going to come in. We would not be able to track and see where are we solving, where are we not solving, where do we direct our strengths to. So I am very, very optimistic that at some time maybe in the next 3-4 years, or even less, that the ecosystem will be bringing so much to the country's GDP.
Indeed, I share your optimism. And still talking about plug-ins, as it were. Your organization supports entrepreneurs to build a business that plug gaps using innovation and technology. Can you tell us more about that as it relates to startup possibilities in Nigeria?
So I'm going to say a bit about my role on the Nigerian Startup Bill, and I'll piggyback to a business academy. So I am the state engagement lead for the Nigerian Startup Bill. And the reason why I'm the state engagement lead is because we understand that these things are supposed to be solved from the grassroots. These problems are supposed to be solved one community at a time. And so that's the reason why that's one of the reasons why we created Business Academy Africa. So Business Academy Africa is basically helping community organizations solve their problems by themselves. So it's not just good enough to say, oh, I want to give them water. How can we provide water, access to clean drinking water for each community sustainably and inclusively, right? How are we able to help communities solve their problems themselves? And the only way we can do that is by making entrepreneurs of them. So help them solve these problems by creating value-added businesses that are plugging these gaps in the communities and solving problems in the country one community at a time. So whether it be by helping you to find out what is the problem that you are trying to solve, is it big enough? Is it something that is community-wide? Are you the best person to solve this problem? Do you require the help of other people? How can we introduce you to a network of people that can help you? Because one thing we've understood is a lot of people like to work in silos, but then Business Academy will try and find partners, people who are already currently working on that solution, or maybe a solution that will have to piggyback off the solution that you want to build, to be able to provide a larger solution to a larger group of people. And so at Business Academy, apart from just building capacity and training people to become high-functioning, high-performing teams that help their organizations thrive and scale, we're helping communities solve their problems. So turning them into entrepreneurs who are solving problems one community at a time.
Well, Tracy Okoro, Executive Director of Business Academy and NSB State Engagement and Adoption Lead, we thank you for joining us on Newsday. Thank you for your pursuit of this bill, and we wish you very well.